What up, my fellow dorks? It is the Turtle Dork back. This is a new ITMOD review. Now, this one is for the film I kind of did a reaction to the trailer a couple of weeks ago called Bilal. Let me make sure I get the title right. Bilal, A New Breed of Hero. Now, it was interesting to me because I haven't heard about any advertisement, and the movie has it says it was the release was 2015, 2016, around that time. So it seems like this movie really hasn't had a lot of backing. So when I kind of stumbled upon this on social media, it really kind of drew some interest with me. So luckily it was playing somewhere around my area, so I actually just came back from seeing it, and I kind of just want to give you my thoughts and my review on the film. So I have some information pulled up here on IMDb. Let me just give you the synopsis of the film. It says, 1,000 years ago, one boy with a dream of becoming a great warrior is abducted with his sister and taken to a land far away from home, thrown into a world where greed and injustice rule all. Bilal finds the courage to raise his voice and make a change. Inspired by true events, this is the story of a real hero who earned his remembrance in time and history. Now, going to that point, the way this movie kind of starts off, and I'm not really going to give any type of spoilers away because this is not really getting a wide release, and I definitely want people to go check this film out. In the beginning, it does state that this is based on actual events, but that they did take some liberties with the storytelling, but the essence of who this man was and that time period and everything that kind of happened with this revolution was still intact. So, of course, with a story like this, you know they're going to take some creative liberties. But what I really liked about the story is the journey of Bilal and how we see him starting off in this film from a child and going through different stages. We see him as a young child, around the age of maybe like 8, and then when he's taken from his mother and enslaved, him and his sister, we kind of flash forward a little bit to when he's about, I would say, like 15 years old, and you really start to kind of see the man that he's going to start to become when he's enslaved in this marketplace. I think that the area was called Mecca, was the marketplace where you had Ian McShane's character, who was the ruler of this area, and his character, let me just make sure I get this for Ian McShane, Umayya. Yeah, he was Master Umayya. And his son, Umayya's son, oh goodness, I gotta make sure I get all of these names right. Safwan. Yeah, Safwan was about the same age as Bilal, and they had a little back and forth going on. You kind of see that in the beginning of the film to really kind of establish their relationship. And there's a tremendous arc that happens between their relationship that we really get to see by the end of the film. But I don't know, it was just so intriguing to me to really see the journey. And again, when I did the trailer reaction, and you see it in the trailer, it does have that hero's journey story to it, and this does it very, very well. This is the movie, at times I will say that the script itself feels a bit heavy-handed with its message and what it's trying to get across, but I think that the film is so genuine and so sincere with what it's trying to say that it never really kind of bothered me watching this film. It was just something I kind of noticed with a lot of things that was being said about who the character of Bilal is. But again, that's just something I kind of noticed. It didn't bother me because you can really see the love and care that was really taken in making this film. Of course, when we get a lot of these different themes and a lot of these different ideas and about slavery and about the chains that bind us and the chains that hold us down, the chains that are inside of us, it really talks a lot about that, and really just using your mind and not, the violence and the physical violence. It also speaks to this idea of worshiping the idol gods. That's a theme that runs throughout this entire film, is worshiping idol gods, and how Umayya in the marketplace uses that to control the people. And this also plays on this idea about, even though he has slaves, Umayya is a slave to greed. Like, greed is his god. So it's like we are all enslaved in some type of way. So it's talking to a lot of different themes. And I found that to be interesting, and really kind of really delving into that and kind of dissecting that a little bit more. I gotta say, like, now this was done by a production studio, Barajoun, that was, I think they're based out of Abu Dhabi. And I gotta say, the animation in this actually looks really, really, really good. Now, I know when I did my trailer reaction, I kind of said, you know what, the animation may not look as polished or pristine or as clean as what we would say something like a Pixar or DreamWorks animation, and it doesn't live up to as far as the animation of that caliber, but I will say it's definitely on par with something you would see from like Illumination or Sony Animation or something like that, because also I think not just the animation, the building of this world, I think the cinematography, the production design, it has a very cinematic feel to it. It feels epic in scope, and I don't know, it was just something beautiful to really see on screen. That was one thing that I really took away from it. And this film has such a beautiful score to it throughout. The way they use these very light motifs of Bilal, like his theme throughout the film, and how it builds from when he's a child to when we get to that epic battle. It's just so beautifully done, and the music really just resonates with you as you watch this film. I thought that it was just beautifully done, the way they were able to use that to really just kind of engage you and bring you into the story. But of course, this was a labor of love that was made over 8 years. The voice cast, like I said, Ian McShane, who plays Master Umayya. You also have playing Bilal at different stages. When he's a teenager, is played by Jacob Lattimore, and then as an adult, Akinnuoye-Agbaje. Of course, the guy that was in, I said before, from Suicide Squad, who played Killer Croc, and he was in Born Identity. His voice has a presence to it, because he has a very deep voice with a lot of bass to it. And it was funny, when you see adult Bilal at first, it kind of took me back a little bit, but as you start to get into the story, you kind of get used to it. One thing I did like too was I thought they did a really good job from the beginning establishing that in the first scene was the relationship between Bilal and his sister, Gufara. So yeah, Bilal and Gufara, the relationship between them, they really established that so well, that pays off. It definitely has an emotional impact by the end of this film, where you see that relationship go. And again, I don't want to give any type of spoilers away, but I also have to say that when you see Bilal stand up to his oppressor, and that's something else I want to get to as well, but let me say this: when you see him stand up to his oppressor, it's a great moment, because you start to see in the story that there's starting to be a shift, because one of the characters even says, like, you know, because of his defiance, a lot of the other slaves are starting to feel empowered by that. And of course, Umayya is trying to, again, keep these people enslaved. So I thought that was a great moment once you saw that switch in Bilal, once he was able to stand up to his oppressor. Another thing about this film is, like, even though it's an animated film, this movie does not shy away from the brutality of this time. When you talk about slavery, when you talk about the tortures and the beatings and the whippings, and the violence of this time, this movie, even though you don't outright see it, of course it's still animation, it's you can feel the brutality that's being displayed on screen, whether it's something that's being insinuated or just the way that it's being shot. This movie doesn't shy away from violence at all, and there is some really kind of kind of, there's one scene when Bilal is being tortured after he kind of defied Umayyah in the courtyard with this giant boulder. And I was like, yo, they are really, really pushing some of the what they could do with animation and violence and brutality. They are really pushing it. But I thought that for this type of story, that was something that really needed to be shown. And again, I don't know, I just thought it's just great to see these type of stories being made. Again, going to my screening that I just got out of, there was a lot of people in the theater, and there was a lot of people of African and Middle Eastern descent and of Islamic faith. And I think this is a movie that really does speak to them. And I think this is something that those people as well wanted to seek out, to be able to see this type of story told that's about them, that's about their history. So I think there was something really, really special about that. And when this film reaches the third act and we get to that final battle between Umayyah and his army and Bilal and his army, so good. I'm talking, this is Game of Thrones style Battle of the Bastards throwdown. That's the first thing that came to mind when I watched that. It is such an epic battle, and again, speaking to the violence of it, they do not shy away from the violence and the killing and the brutality of that final battle. And it's really, really good. Again, it definitely evokes that Game of Thrones style, and I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. All in all, I thought this was a really, really fantastic movie that I gotta say, it kind of shocked me, only because I didn't know about this story 2-3 weeks ago. And I'm glad that they were able to get some screenings in my area for me to go check this film out. And I would definitely encourage a lot of people to definitely go check this film out. Again, it's not a perfect film. I think there are, as far as the filmmaking and the story flow of the film, it kind of drags a little bit in the second act for me. And then again, I think the script feels a little heavy-handed with this message. But again, these are just certain things that I kind of noticed. But overall, I was so engaged in this story and watching the story and watching this tale of this man that I really didn't know much about. But it's good to finally get some information and get a little bit more history about who Bilal was. So again, I know it's not a direct representation of it, but again, I think the filmmakers definitely wanted to bring the essence of this period and who this man was, and they were really able to do that. It's just a beautifully told story, and I definitely encourage people to check this out. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts of the film Bilal. So if you've seen the film, definitely let me know what you thought of the film in the comments below. Make sure you rate, like, subscribe, and share. And go ahead and check out my other dorks, at MouthDork, at TheDiscoDork, and at Sidewalk Siren. And as for me, I am the Turtle Dork, and with that, I'm out.